Hey guys, welcome to Professor Headbanger's YouTube channel. My name is Michael Coles from the Outcast magazine. I was also the vocalist for El Pecado back in the day. So here's an interview with Professor Headbanger.
What was the inspiration behind starting the Outcast in 1996, and why did you choose that name?
Well, I chose the Outcast name because I've always felt like an outcast ever since I moved to this country from Mexico. Being called names that I shouldn't have been called. My sister and I both. Being from two different families and going back and forth from Mexico to the U.S., I never felt like I belonged anywhere in any family, I guess you can say. Always did my own thing. Never really felt like I ever felt like I was part of anything or anyone. I started in 96 because I was doing Before Dawn before that, and that's where where I went on my own and started doing the Outcast. I did have some people helping me there at the beginning and stuff with reviews and interviews and stuff. Mauricio Araniva was the co-editor. He helped me out a lot. Yep.
Can you talk about the split from the Before Dawn zine and how your vision for the Outcast evolved after that?
When Tim from Michigan, he was the other editor with Before Dawn. He and I both, just focused on black metal, like I said. And then after that, I just wanted to go on my own and do my own thing with more than just black metal, because to me that was just very limiting. So yeah.
You mentioned wanting to cover more than just black metal. How did that decision affect the direction of the Outcast?
I just covered more bands and more musical styles, really is the only difference. My questions evolved eventually with the third issue, so yep.
Why did you ultimately decide to transition from a paper zine to an online format? What were some of the challenges and freedoms that came with that change?
Well, the freedoms and challenges were definitely, I was able to do more context and put more pictures online and definitely reach a bigger audience. And it's a lot cheaper. It was mainly money issues, is why I decided to put it online, and it took a few years to do it. But thankfully, I had help. My webmaster, Chris Edmonds, he still helps me out with it. And so, hopefully it'll continue. I haven't done any interviews in a minute, but there's a lot of content on the website that, of course, you can't see on the zines, but every magazine that I released is online, and not all the interviews, but most of the interviews, and so you can go from there.
Your story about being called racist names when you moved to the U.S. and how that shaped your identity is powerful. How do you think these early experiences shaped your approach to both music and life in general?
Metal is an angry form of music, in my opinion, a lot of rage, and I think that's probably what attracted me to this music. Just the injustices of the world and the things a lot of the bands talked about and preached, helped me out in that. As far as my views and stuff, it just sucks that people got to be hateful with one another, and I just try not to be like them.
You've written about feeling like an outcast among outcasts. How does that experience tie into your love for metal and the way it allows for expression outside of societal norms?
I don't know. I'm not really sure. I mean, when you don't belong, feel like you belong anywhere, I don't really think that I've ever really had that feeling. So,
In your interviews, you started to shift from focusing on music to exploring life, death, spirituality, and other deeper topics. What prompted this shift, and how has it been received by the bands and your readers?
well, the shift came from my beliefs changing and my ideologies changing. Um, I my first couple issues, I felt like it was more about just typical questions about music and questions that you could read in any other zine. So it was like when everything changed in my life, I just felt like I felt like I was called to do something more with the magazine other than just music. I felt like I needed to use the magazine to make people think um, about what they believed in and why they preached what they preached. Whether it be Satanism or Christianity or whatever, anti-politics. So many bands cover different things. Um, it's just, I don't know, I got bored with the same old questions. So it's like I felt like I needed to switch it up and start talking about more things than just music, because I just felt like everybody was doing that. And so why do what everybody else is doing?
There's a tension between faith and music in your life, specifically being a Christian who loves metal. What has been the most difficult part of navigating this intersection?
I'm probably being judged all the time from both sides. My beliefs changed, I think one of the hardest things was like getting out of some of the music that I loved, not listening to it anymore because of the lyrical content. I really believe what you put into your mind, or what you listen to, watch, it'll affect you in certain ways, whether you want to admit it or not. A lot of the satanic bands that I loved, I quit listening to. I didn't feel comfortable listening to them anymore, and so that part was kind of, I mean, it was easy to do, but also hard because of how much I loved the bands and the music. But like I just don't feel comfortable listening to blasphemous things. I don't feel comfortable listening to anything satanic. I don't really want to promote it like in any way, as far as like for my personal life. If others want to do it, that's on them. So yeah.
How do you approach interviews with bands whose beliefs or lifestyles differ greatly from your own, especially when those differences are polarizing or controversial?
Well, I mean, it's easy. I mean, if you read some of the questions that I asked the Christian bands, I think that the questions I asked the Christian bands were a lot more brutal than the ones I asked the secular bands. I played devil's advocate with the questions and see where, people take me and what they say. But most bands that I interview and the people I interview are pretty nice, and I've never had any issues with anybody, so it works out.
You've touched on the idea of social media creating division based on differing beliefs. How do you feel about the way social media has impacted the metal scene, especially regarding people's reactions to differing ideologies?
Well, I mean, a lot of it's a bunch of stupid people online wanting to push people's buttons, and trolls wanting to just make people angry. I mean, people are always putting each other down because of certain bands that they like or don't like, and the gatekeeping, as some people call it. It's, it is what it is, and I think social media has created a lot of dumb people. I think maybe boredom, I don't know, but there's no respect hardly in the social media world. That's why a lot of people leave. I try to ignore a lot of the things and stay out of conversations online. If things get overheated or whatever, or dramatic, I usually delete things that people are commenting about. I don't really want to deal with all the stuff that comes with it, as far as bringing attention to myself in any way. Sometimes it happens. There's no way avoiding it, and it stinks. That's how the world is now.
How do you respond to the criticism you've received from both sides of the spectrum? Metalheads who question your faith and Christians who question your music tastes.
Well, it is what it is. It's like I've got people in the metal community who think that you can't listen to metal and be a Christian or a follower of Christ, just because, whatever reasons. And then I have Christians who say I can't listen to metal because they say it's, ungodly or whatever. To me, if something is going to influence you negatively, then don't listen to it or don't do it. If something is going to ruin your faith or make you fall, then don't do it. Don't get into it. But it's to me, it's like legalism, saying that you can't do this or this, or you have to do this or this, you have to do this or this in order to go to heaven, which is a lie. You don't do anything that's not for us to decide or for us to do. I just wish people would respect people more. There's a reason why Christian metal exists. Some of it, isn't that great. A lot of them are just copycats from the secular bands. There's only a handful of Christian bands that I actually listen to. Most of it's secular, and some metalheads don't agree with that I shouldn't be able to do both or whatever. But to me, metal is for everyone. It doesn't matter, what you believe in. It's a style of music, man. Just, you either enjoy it or you don't.
In the context of mutual respect and understanding, what advice would you give to people who feel like they have to choose a side or only associate with people who think like them?
As far as choosing sides, people are always going to choose sides. That's why sides exist, unfortunately. Even if you say you haven't chosen a side, you have still chosen a side. So it's that's just the way it is. Everyone's always going to be choosing sides no matter what. There's a reason why Group A only hangs out with Group A, Group B only hangs out with Group B. Sometimes others will hang out with others. As far as there's a band in the band Clutch. Every time I go to their shows, I've never seen more diversity in fans and people in my life. There's just so many people, and I wish people could be like that, and just everybody get along. And, I don't know, maybe Clutch just has that power with people. I don't know, but there's a lot of people that are divided over silly things, and it's silly, and people fight over dumb things. So people just need to move on.
Do you believe there's room for more dialogue between different belief systems within the metal community? If so, what would that look like?
Well, it just depends on the people. That's with everything, with every community, not just metal. It's It just depends on the people, whether they're open-minded enough to have dialogues and to have conversations. Usually when I go to metal festivals, some of my patches on my jackets or some of the shirts I wear, Christian bands, and it usually strikes up at least one conversation every festival with somebody and asking questions or, what's up with this band or whatever the reason. They come up to me, but a lot of times some people don't understand that you can like Christian bands and secular bands. For some reason, people think that there's rules. So I don't know. I think it's silly.
Looking back at your journey with the Outcast, how do you think it has impacted you as a person? Has the zine shaped your worldview in unexpected ways?
Not really. I mean, other than when I changed my questions and my beliefs, I changed a lot of the content and stuff and try to stay away from the typical questions. But I mean, it hasn't really affected me in that kind of way, really, I guess.
You mentioned a life-changing experience that led you to ask more personal and reflective questions in your interviews. Could you elaborate on what that experience was and how it transformed your approach to both the zine and your life in general?
Well, it's like, I guess like a lot of other people, I feel like a lot of metalheads, and I was one of them when I was a kid. I just basically accepted the beliefs and the belief system of my favorite bands. At that time, it was King Diamond. I was raised in a Catholic home. All I knew was religion. I never knew the differences between being a real Christian or a Christ follower and religion. To me, religion is not only man-made, but it has caused so many problems in the world. And that's why I try to stay away from religion and just focus on Christ. I like I said, I had like my beliefs as a Catholic, but then when I got into metal, I started questioning all my beliefs as being raised, and then I started getting into the occult, and because of King Diamond and other bands, and I started accepting their beliefs as my own. Without really, yes, I studied them and all that, but it's like, did I really believe in all this stuff, or did I believe in this stuff because of my favorite bands? And I feel like it was because of my favorite bands that I got into. But then as I grew older, I, of course, started questioning their beliefs. And I've always questioned everyone's beliefs. I've always questioned my own beliefs, questioned everything. I question everything. And I was on my way to Osage Beach, Missouri. I was by myself, and I saw this hitchhiker out in the middle of nowhere. I was like near the Lake of the Ozarks, and I just kept driving, and I wasn't going to pick this guy up. He looked really scummy. He just looked scary. And I told myself, I'm not picking this guy up, and I kept driving. All of a sudden, I heard a voice that said, go back and pick him up, and it kind of freaked me out. It was very weird, and I started arguing with the voice and said, no, I'm not going to pick him up. I finally got kind of scared and turned around and went back and picked this guy up, and this guy was covered in tattoos. Like I said, he looked kind of, dirty. I didn't understand why he was there in the middle of nowhere. And I kept trying to talk to this guy, and he wouldn't talk to me. And, I just kept bringing things up. He had tattoos, started talking about vampires. And I noticed that this guy had a Columbia necktie from ear to ear, which was also scary because it's like, what was this guy into? Just all of a sudden, this guy goes, I feel like I can tell you anything. And he started telling me about how his dad raped his kids and everything that he did and why he became the way he became. And it was just a deep conversation, and he felt like he could tell me anything. And when he told me all the things that he was telling me, it was like I just started telling this guy about God and the Bible and things that I did not believe in. So it's like, why would that happen? So we talked, and the guy started telling me that he was in the occult and what he went through, and how the guy he was with in the occult, how he wanted to take over his position, and when he found out about it, he gave him the Columbia necktie and left him for dead. The guy survived. This guy told me about so much stuff that he was into, and anything he prayed for from the devil he got. But anyway, I was on the way. I took this guy to where he needed to be. I ended up giving this guy a book. I can't remember what the name of it is. It's been a little while. All this happened in my 20s. But when I dropped this guy off, I started bawling, and I was like, is this God? Is this you? And after that, I just started reading the Bible more and started going to church. I just started changing my thinking. It's like what I experienced was a life-changing event. And there's nothing or nobody on this planet that can take that away from me. People can say this or that about God or the Bible, say it's a lie, blah, blah, blah. Say whatever they want, man. There's nothing on this planet that can take away what I experienced. There's nothing on this planet that you can say to me that what I experienced was a lie. I'm not crazy. I'm not, I was in my right mind when all this happened. So it wasn't a hallucination. It wasn't a product of my mind. I will never stop preaching what I preach with my questions or make people think. But these questions, or what happened to me, is what made me want to start asking all these satanic bands all these questions and what they believed in, like why did they go to church, were they raised that way, why they believed in what they believed in. I had a band from France that I interviewed, Your Shapeless Beauty. When they first started, they had a pentagram in their logo. And shortly after the interview, they got rid of their pentagram in their logo. So, I guess maybe my questions made this person think about what they were doing. And that's basically what the Outcast became from the third issue on, was why do people believe in what they believe in? Why do the bands preach what they preach? What made them change? Look at Roger Martinez from Vengeance Rising. It's like he was a hardcore Christian and everything, and he did a complete 360 and became satanic. I really feel a lot of the reason why people leave the church or leave what things that were brought up in. Roger experienced a lot of negative things with the record label, among others. And I also, from what I understand, he had some mental issues going on. And it's like, when people get disappointed with their lives because they didn't turn out the way they wanted it, or they blame God because of things that happen, it's like, it's not really God's fault, man. It's man's fault. It's man is the one that screws everything up, and who screwed Roger over, not God. So it's like, it sucks that Roger, is the way he became, but it is what it is. People experience things that, I'll never understand the hatred people have inside. I used to be that way, but I'm not anymore, and I don't know. So, yeah.
What has been one of the most rewarding moments for you in all these years of running the Outcast?
I guess the most rewarding thing is, like I said, in that band, Your Shapeless Beauty, removing their pentagram from their logo. Anytime a band or my questions make a band, or like just people in general think, that's, to me, the most rewarding thing, is that it made people think about what they believe in. In 1999, I think it was 99, when I released the third issue, I had a table at the Milwaukee Metal Fest. I was selling the zine there, and I didn't know how people were going to take me coming out of the closet, so to speak, from not being a Christian to being a Christian, and the questions that I asked. And I had some people that read the magazine while they were at Milwaukee Fest, and they came up to me and was saying how awesome it was that I was doing the questions. When I interviewed Bart from Sinister before Milwaukee Metal Fest that year that they played, after the interview, he asked me, "Are you not going to ask any questions about the band?" And I said, "No, I'll leave that for other magazines." And he said, "Well, that's cool. I really enjoyed the questions. When you go to Milwaukee, be sure you come up to me and tell me who you are, and that I was the guy that asked the really cool questions." And so I did that. As soon as I saw him, I walked up to him and I said, "Hey, I'm the guy with the questions from the Outcasts, and here's a zine." I gave him a copy. And so I'm just hoping that, people, I mean, look at Pete Sandoval becoming a Christian. Whether he is now or not, I don't know. I mean, I would think that even though he's playing in I Am Morbid, that doesn't make him less of a Christian. Just as much as Hellhammer for Mayhem playing in a Christian black metal band, unblack, whatever. I mean, him playing in a Christian band doesn't make him a Christian. Just as, to me, somebody who's a Christian playing in bands with members that are opposite, that doesn't make them the same. I feel like it's called respect, a mutual respect with musicians, and I love to see that. And it's cool that, Hellhammer did that, that he was able to play in a Christian metal band and be cool with it, and everybody was okay with it. So
what are your thoughts on the future of metal and the zine scene in the digital age? Do you think the community can ever fully reconcile the differences you've discussed, or will the tension always exist?
I think the tension will always exist because that's just humanity, especially in the digital world with social media and people cussing each other out over stupid things and saying the things that they say to each other. I don't think anything's ever going to change with that. As far as the zine, e-zines, I think they're just going to keep coming out, and people are, some magazines have been around for a while. I started the Outcast in '96. I'm still doing it online. Definitely more of a love and a hobby. I've never made money off of it. When I did release the printed formats, I did have ads, ads from bands, from record labels, but they, I don't really make any money off of it, which I don't really care. People who are into metal know they don't make money. So.
For someone who feels like an outcast in the metal world or any community, what advice would you offer?
Just be yourself no matter what. Just always be you and true to you, and don't pretend to be someone you're not just because of others or society. If people don't like you for who you are, then they're not worth being in your corner. I've always remained true to myself. I've never really cared what people think of me. I never have, never will. I don't lose sleep over other people's opinions or whatever. Just because I feel like an outcast doesn't mean like I'm crawled up in a hole crying, "Oh, nobody likes me." It's like, that's not who I am. So just be you and don't let others bring you down.
What's next for you and the Outcast? Are there any new directions or projects you're exploring?
No, not really. I mean, I'm just doing what I do. I mainly do a lot more pictures than I have done interviews. Due to the questions that I ask and the bands that I interviewed, I think I've made my point of where I'm trying to lead people to with my questions. I want them to think about what they believe in. I have to be inspired to interview bands now. I can't just interview anybody, just interview. I've done so many interviews. If you go online to the webzine, you'll be able to see how many interviews I've done. Some of them aren't even online. I would like to find some of my old Before Dawn zine interviews. I don't have any printed copies of it, but I still have the big fat discs with some of the content. I'm hoping one of these days I can put those up online, with all the old school interviews that I did with that zine. So we'll see what happens in the future.
If the Outcast were to be remembered for one thing, what would you want that to be?
I would want them to remember the Outcast as the magazine that made people think and made them stand out, and the questions stand out more than other magazines. After the third issue's release, I started noticing other magazines, including Metal Maniacs, asking some of my questions to the bands that they were interviewing, and I started seeing other bigger magazines copying some of my questions, and I thought that was pretty cool. That other magazines started doing other things other than just focusing on the music. So, hopefully people will remember me by that, and someone that supported the secular metal scene and the Christian metal scene, and didn't care what others thought. Just he did his own thing.
Thank you for watching the video. Stay true, stay metal. See you next time.